Hey guys, it's DJam with Digital DJ Tips. We're getting into part 2 on our series of promotional materials. Now last week I got you to write your own artist or DJ bio, and if that seemed like a trying task, then you're in for a newer challenge this week. Designing a logo is always probably, in my opinion, got to be one of the biggest challenges ever to be put on a designer, because it's, unlike what many think, it's not just your name in text in some designed way. It is supposed to be a representation of your brand. The idea that when they see this, they're going to know it's you, they're going to know what you're about, or have a general idea. It's why you'll see that many will spend up to millions just for a logo for a major company, even though at times it doesn't look like they got much for their money. But that's another discussion. So the first big question I get a lot is, do you need a logo? In the DJ realm right now, I wouldn't say it's a massive necessity, but when you're trying to get to that point now of pushing yourself almost as an artist, meaning you're not just going after the local bar gig or the local small residency, but now you want to be playing in bigger festivals, you need a logo. You need that branding. You need to come off as something more than just, hi, I'm so-and-so with my controller or creative vinyl. I'm now this, an empire. So if you're going to actually try to make yourself a logo here, there is a process. And believe me, this is the process most designers follow. It's one of the most standard and best ways to design a logo. The first step, get off the computer. That might sound a little strange, but that's the truth. The biggest mistake most people make in designing a logo is they jump on their computer right immediately and start designing. They didn't think about anything else, and what they end up turning out is more than likely going to be a big mess. The first big step actually is to get a pad of paper and a pen and start brainstorming. Write down basically adjectives that describe you as a DJ, not you as a person, but you as a DJ. All the adjectives you can think of, whether it's anything from professional to intelligent to exciting, whatever you think is the best to describe it. If you want to say underground or you want to say pretty boy or whatever. Also write down genres. I'm talking more specific genres that you are going to play. And if you stand there and say, well, I just play everything, then put that down. But also put down the ones you're going to favor, because as you've seen, every single one of these sort of genre subcultures has their own kind of branding, marketing, look, feel, and that's why they're cultures. Now, the only time you should get on the computer at this point is if you want to start looking at logos of other companies and especially other DJs. Look at DJs you like, look at DJs you respect, see if they have logos, and especially try to get like a screen grab or grab an image of those logos. That's your inspiration. 9 out of 10 times I design any logo, that's the first thing I'm doing is on Google Images looking at other logos of similar companies, similar people, whatever I can think of that I can draw inspiration from. Now, after you've got all that done, still, get off the computer. You're not now going to start designing yet in a sense of a computer, but instead with a pencil and paper. Just take a piece of paper and start doing rough designs. Any ideas you're going to think about. You know, you could be, let's say, DJ Birdman, and now you're going to start writing your name. Maybe you'll write it in uppercase or lowercase, or variate the cases, or start saying maybe I want the D and the J to swoop a certain way, or I want to work in some wings or a beak. Whatever happens. It doesn't have to look polished and beautiful. It's just your rough idea. It's like drawing a wireframe for a website. You're just simply getting the rough idea down on what this is supposed to look like. If you have multiple ideas, then sketch them all down, because you might later find that 3 out of the 4 ideas you make are garbage, and that 4th one is the one that's right for you. Now, once you have all that down, here's where you come to that fork in the road. If you honestly feel you're not competent to do designing on a computer, you don't want to mess with this, you don't want to deal with this, it seems like too much trouble, then I would tell you to seek help. Take that list of adjectives and genres, take the logos that you used for inspiration and your rough sketches, and talk to a designer. If you have no access to one, try a website such as 99designs.com. I mean, you'd have to spend about $300, but at least results I've seen from a lot of DJs that used it, it's worth it, because you'll get a plethora of different ideas down. And even then, you can take those ideas and say, you know what, I like this and I like this. Can you change it up to be like that? That's what they get paid for. But in the spirit of do-it-yourself, maybe you want to actually give it a shot. And I say, why not? That's how I started. The first big tip I got to give you is do not use a bitmap-based program. That means no Photoshop, no GIMP, not even Pixlr. Use something that's what's known as vector-based drawing. That's more like Adobe Illustrator, or there's a piece of freeware that means totally free called Inkscape. The reason why you do this is you cannot enlarge a bitmapped image like a photo up above a certain point. If you want to see this in best, open up a photo on some image editing program and start trying to enlarge it. You're going to notice after maybe about twice as big, it starts to get blurry. Even more, it turns into a big pixelated mess. That's the problem with bitmaps. Bitmaps are great for a final design that's in one size, but for a logo, you need to be able to take that logo and size it to be as small as your thumbnail to as big as a billboard. That's why I do vectors. As I said, use Illustrator if you have it. If not, download Inkscape. We have a link in the article. You can get it right from there. The other thing I'm going to tell you is take your time. Rome wasn't built in a day, and good logos are not built in minutes. Some people have that talent. They can draw up a logo in a heartbeat. I give them a lot of credit. For me, when I do logos, it took me a while. I'm talking hours, if not days, of just trying it, trying new things, coming back, going back to sketching on paper until I finally found something that says, yeah, that's it. I'll tell you also to design everything in single color. I know that many logos have many colors, but always be careful when you design, let's say, a logo that's red, white, and green. You're now married to those colors, which means if somebody's using a design or a layout that doesn't mesh well with one of those colors, let's say they're going to lay your red, white, and green logo on a white background and all the white is gone, there's that problem. I usually like to design a logo completely just in black and whites, and then I can turn around and make other versions out of that, including something with colors. And lastly, play around. That's the essence of design. It's like when you're improvising on an instrument. Just, if you have the knack, you're comfortable enough with your program that you're using, play around. As I said, maybe you want to take the J on the DJ and swoop it under the D, or you want to come up with some way of doing the text or stretch something around. Go nuts. There is no set rule. It just has to be legible, that it can be read, and that it speaks to your brand. Now, once you have that down, maybe you took 1, 2, or more of your concepts, how many ever you made, and managed to flush them out into more polished versions, take the time to review and revise. Now, the key thing I would mostly suggest is look for other people. Talk to your friends or family, or even go on our message board. Plop the logo up there, and also be sure to tell what you're about. Say, hi, I'm this dubstep DJ from Liverpool, and I want to have a real kind of raver underground vibe to my logo. What do you think of this? Or someone says, I want to be like the next Pauly D, perish the thought, and I want to have a logo that speaks to that whole crowd. You got to tell us that part, and we'll be glad to give you feedback. Another way you can also review a logo design if you don't want to deal with anybody else is try mocking it up in certain uses, tactics as they're called. Maybe you want to make some throw together flyer and stick your logo on there and see how it looks when it's sort of in an environment like a flyer. Or you want to find an image of a man or a woman wearing a blank t-shirt and stick the logo on there and see how that's going to look. Whatever way you want to present that logo, just try a rough tactic in that sense, just to get an idea if it works well. Because you might find that logo design doesn't work very well on certain, in certain avenues. Now, let's say you get the feedback, you make some changes, you revise, you're done, everything is awesome, this is your logo, you want it. Now it's time to export your final versions, for whatever use you're going to have. The standard is what's called an EPS file. That's a vector-based file where everything is all put together in one. And basically half the time you're going to hand that over to a designer when they want to put your logo on a flyer, for instance. I also tend to make like a very large-sized PNG file, which I know is a bitmap, But sometimes you happen to run into someone who says, I don't have the means to use that. It's always handy to have that extra on hand. Now, this is an optional thing you can think about in what's called a logo guideline. In advertising, I run into this a lot. What a logo guideline is, it's really actually called a branding guideline. It's almost like, it could be anything from a one-page to a book practically of how and when someone can use this logo or the branding. And believe me, I've seen everything from you must have a certain amount of space, whether it's in pixels or inches, off each side of the logo, or you cannot use it in any other color, or you must only show it on certain things. I've had clients even that are vehement saying, do not put our logo on top of anything that isn't a solid color. Is it a good idea to have a logo guideline? To be honest, I don't know. If you're a large multi-million-dollar company, you might want to think about that. For the rest of us, I honestly say don't. The more trouble you become with that logo, the less likely someone's going to use it. And at this point in the game, especially with the amount of competition out there, you want people to use it because that's going to push you better. Now, I brought up again last week, like I said, what if you're a company? Same thing here. It's the same process. Doesn't matter if you're designing a logo for an individual person or for a company like your mobile DJ company or even a production crew. This same process goes all the way. And that's really all there is to designing a logo. So I invite you to leave comments, ask me questions, or jump on the forum and throw your logo up there if you want critique. And please join us at all at digitaldjtips.com for the latest news, great tutorials, and lots of awesome content to your heart's content. Thank you.